Well, you win some, you lose some. Looks like this one. We win. The AM broadcast band, I mentioned it was weak. Some of that was due to swamping. The power supply for this camera is a nightmare RF output-wise. I don't trust the batteries in it enough to go to that yet. But as it turns out, I did have in my collection of old, removed from old gear transistors, several of these Amperex Holland is who makes the transistors that were used in these guys. Interestingly, these ones have the EIA numbers on them, silk screened on there. All of the ones in this radio have the Zenith part number silk screened on them. You may be familiar if you work on anything Zenith. It begins with 121 dash something or another. And all of the transistors are, well, of course they're labeled in the drawings, but they are also inked silk screened. But as it turns out, that first IF transistor, 121-352, the EIA number for it is 2N2089. Well, one of these was that. Only one of them. A couple of them will fit in other spots in here, different numbers. So I'll certainly hang on to these. In fact, I'll probably keep these with this radio, so somebody down the line can, with a note about this one with the ground lead cut off. So yeah, I pulled that one. I cut the lead off. That's in here. I'm going to save that. The transistor does work, but just not as well as the one I just put in there. Really no change in the FM side at all. It's the AM, and I think it has all to do with that case not being shielded properly. Probably oscillating. I'm not sure. I'm not going to drag my scope out. The thing's working now. So AM mode, it's definitely more sensitive. If I unplug my camera, it's a very sensitive AM radio. With that thing, power supply for that making a whole bunch of RF interference, it's a little tough to tell. You'll hear it.
Glass convertible under a bird's nest.
That.
Restrictions apply. See store for this.
So, let's see, double check, let's see if FM still hollers. Yeah, looks like it. Alright.
Hey, thanks a lot, Joe.
So, as far as I'm concerned right now, for at least right now, it's fixed. And basically the biggest problem was that transistor. Shorting the collector to its shield case. Well, I might have to eventually, I don't know. I'd like to cut that thing open and have a look inside and see how. And who knows. But this is, as it is a working part, I'll probably suspend that inclination and just let it be. Of course, the capacitors I replaced, a few of which were clearly in need of, by the way, all of the caps in this thing are rated at 12 volts. A few of them, a couple of them maybe were 6 volt rated. The ones I put in here are modern ones, rated at 50 volts. And in every case, they're way smaller than the original parts in here. And don't worry about I've heard people complain about using higher voltage capacitors and lower voltage circuits where there'd be a problem with them not forming correctly, and so you won't get the capacitors. Don't worry about that. The difference between 12 volts and 50 volts in this case is nil. Don't worry about it. If you're using an old style dry electrolytic rated for 500 volts and you've got it in a 6 volt circuit, yeah, you can't expect to get the stated capacitance value on its sleeve out of it like that. there are forming issues with those older styles, most especially, but these days don't worry about it. Even if you're stuck, I could put 100-volt electrolytics in here. They cost a little more, and they're a little bit bigger size. Well, I do that. But to seek out 12-volt and 15-volt and 20-volt caps for this, don't bother. Just get yourself a kit of 50 volters. You know, like DigiKey has them, and they'll pretty much fit anything unless you're working on some certain circuits and tube radios. Don't even worry about it. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play with this a little bit more, most especially after dark, you know, to see what this thing can pull in on the shortwave. You know, when it was working while I had it before, it was very sensitive with it. It's kind of acting like it was then too, before this transistor failed. So I don't really expect to have any trouble with it. So I'm gonna, since I got it open apart, I'll clean some things up, check some other details out, maybe lubricate a couple of things here and there, clean some switches, certainly hose down this cabinet. It's still got all this powdery stuff in it from when the battery leakage happened. Maybe get rid of some rust. What I'll probably do is pull the speaker out and just hose the thing down. There are no markings on the dial face up here. It's all on this drum, and those are in pristine condition. It's not really a silk screen either. I'm not sure how they did that. There are lights in here, but those lights, the light shines through where the numbers and lines are. It's pretty cool. Haven't checked that. Don't really care about it. I just want the radio to work. And a special bonus is that the FM now works, which it didn't before. I'm not, unless I find a serious problem with this, I'm not going to attempt any alignment. I've gotten myself in trouble doing that, not because I didn't know how, but because some damn control broke. How many times, you know, you fracture one of these coil forms, or it's just, if it's working, you leave it alone. Unless there's a particular band isn't working, I might get in there and look and tweak some patterns and trimmers and things, but otherwise I leave it alone. So we'll see. But hopefully I'll have enough time on this to include a video of this radio cleaned up, buttoned up, and hollering.